This is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network show and founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. It is Saturday, June 2nd, 2024, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. So we have a very special edition of the African History Network show planned for you today. It is Sunday, June 2nd, 2024, and we are live. Welcome to the African History Network show. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. And everybody heard the news that on Thursday, May 30th, Donald Trump was found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records, as well as election fraud. So we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, May 31st, 2024. I want to get into it deeper here on today's show. And also, I wanted to talk about two other topics. Now, some of you all saw the articles that I posted dealing with the Negro League statistics being incorporated into Major League Baseball statistics, and Josh Gibson of the Homestead Braves. He now holds the all-time batting average. So we're going to talk about that as well on today's show. Also, you have some people who are happy about it. You have other people who are upset about it and calling it DEI, etc. Right? So we're going to talk about that. And back on May 10th, when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we talked about how African-American lawmakers, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, are reintroducing the Crown Act, which will ban discrimination against various types of hairstyles. So we only talked about that for about 3 minutes on the show, but I want to discuss it here for a few minutes, but also tie it to some other news stories that I've seen dealing with how thousands of African-American women are suing companies that make hair relaxers because they say they got cancer from the hair relaxers. We know Attorney Benjamin Crump was one of the first attorneys involved in this type of lawsuit. There have been thousands of lawsuits filed because of this, and also some recent studies have come out that show a link between hair relaxers and uterine cancer, especially in African-American women. So we're going to talk about that on today's show as well. Okay, so share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. All right, I want to jump into this first topic here, and then I'm going to go to a segment from when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, when we discussed this. There's so much to talk about here with this case. Now, I was 98% sure that Donald Trump was going to be found guilty, and basically guilty on all 34 counts. This case from the beginning is basically a documents case, because Michael Cohen provided the canceled checks. He provided evidence. He provided documentary evidence to prove that Donald Trump was paying him back. And he provided testimony stating that Donald Trump knew what the payments were for. He knew about the money being paid to Stormy Daniels, but also about the falsification of business records. Okay. So I was 98% sure that he was going to be found guilty. Now, it's also important to understand that when I was on 910 AM WFDF here in Detroit, the radio station, I was the one who broke this story for 910 AM about the payments to Stormy Daniels. Okay. And I was the first one to talk about this on the air. And what happened was I was on Cliff Russell's show, my friend Cliff Russell. And, Cliff Russell's passed on since then. But I was on Cliff Russell's show, and we were on commercial break, and I was on my laptop, and I see this story come across. I was on, I think it was from rawstory.com. It was from rawstory.com. And it may have been on Facebook, or I got the email, but I see this story come across that talks about Stormy Daniels and an alleged affair that she had with Donald Trump, and he paying money to her a few days shortly before the 2016 election to keep her quiet so it does not interfere with election results. This payment took place right after the Access Hollywood tape came out. And we know the Access Hollywood tape was very damaging for Donald Trump, especially when it came to women voters, to female voters. And Hope Hicks, former aide to Donald Trump, testified to this in this case. So when I first heard about this, I said, this sounds like a campaign finance violation taking place. You're paying money so a story doesn't come out to influence the election, and you don't properly record that when you submit your campaign finance records. Okay. And I was correct. This is dealing with election law. And this was a state case, not a federal case. Okay. So we're going to get into this. All right. So I want to go first to this article here from NBCnews.com. And the reason why I brought that up, give you that background story, because so many people were saying from the start, oh, this is just about sex, something, this is just a story about sex, and paying hush money is not illegal. I said, no, this goes way beyond that. This deals with campaign. This deals with election law, campaign finance violation. A good article from NBCnews.com. Donald Trump found guilty in historic New York hush money case. The jury's verdict is the first time a former president has been convicted of a crime. The jury's verdict is the first time a former president has been convicted of a crime. Now, one of the problems here, the way mainstream media has been covering this, is they've been calling this a hush money case as opposed to an election interference case or election fraud case. It's really an election fraud case. And this is something on the first day of the case opening arguments, prosecutor Michael Colangelo, this is something that he stated. He said it was election fraud, pure and simple. Prosecutor Matthew Colangelo said in his opening statement. But here, if we look at this piece here from NBCnews.com, so after 6 weeks of trial, after 20 witnesses for the prosecution, 2 witnesses for the defense, after 9.5 hours of deliberation, a jury of 12 of Donald Trump's peers returned a verdict of guilty on all 34 counts. Okay, so this took place Thursday, May 30th, 2024. You remember me saying that this is not going to be a hot boy summer for Donald Trump. This is going to be the worst summer of his life. Okay, this is the first time a former U.S. president has been convicted of a crime. Now, he'll be sentenced on July 11th, 2024, 4 days before the Republican National Convention. He faces penalties from a fine. The fine could be up to $5,000. Penalties from a fine to 4 years in prison on each count. Although it's expected he will he would be sentenced for the offenses concurrently, so serving all of the sentences at one time as opposed to consecutively. Now, it's highly unlikely, all things considered, that he serves time in prison. I think he should serve time in prison because he tried to defraud voters. I think he should serve time in prison. He tried to defraud voters. He actually did defraud voters, and kept that news out of the media, okay, so he could win the election because he knew it would hurt his chances in winning the election. So he definitely needs to go to prison. But also, there were 10 violations of the gag order during the trial. Okay, 10 violations of the gag order. The average person cannot violate a gag order like that, even 2 or 3 times, and not be put in jail for the duration of the trial. Okay, so he wasn't put in jail even though he had 10 violations of the gag order. He Right after the trial, right after the verdict, he goes out, holds a press conference, continues to lie. We're going to go through some of the lies that he told. Okay, he continues to rant on Truth Social, things of this nature. So if he keeps it up, Judge Juan Merchan may have no choice but to put him in jail and put him in prison, especially if he tries to release information about the jury, about the jurors, or if he continues to issue various types of threats, incite violence, etc. So we'll see what happens with this. But I vote for him to go to prison. He belongs in prison. Okay. So the verdict was read in Manhattan, in the Manhattan courtroom where Trump had been on trial since April 15th. He had pleaded not guilty to all 34 counts of falsifying business records related to a hush money payment his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, made to adult film star Stormy Daniels in the final weeks of the 2016 presidential election. Trump looked down with his eyes narrowed as the jury foreperson read the word guilty to each count. Now, I want to talk about here how we got to this being a felony, all right? Because these were 34 misdemeanor charges, but under New York state law, when you have misdemeanors that are done in connection with done with the intent to cover up another crime, those misdemeanors get elevated to a felony. And this is what we saw here. So I want to go to page 4 here of this article, because this is something that is being largely skipped over in mainstream media and cable news. This should really be talked about a lot more. How this became a felony, and it's being glossed over to talk more about, former porn star, Stormy Daniels, Donald Trump cheating on his wife. I didn't mean to call him chump, but Donald Trump cheating on his wife, etc. This is dealing with fraud. Okay. Now, he was found liable in a civil lawsuit that New York Attorney General Letitia James brought against him for inflating the property values of various real estate that he owns. So he owes about $454 million in that civil fraud trial. That's dealing with fraud. He owes about $85 million to E. Jean Carroll in that defamation case. And then he's found guilty here of falsifying business records, that's dealing with fraud, but also election fraud. This is one of the biggest con men in history, and he is a fraud. Now, prosecutors said the disguised payment to Michael Cohen, was part of a planned, coordinated, long-running conspiracy to influence the 2016 election, to help Donald Trump get elected through illegal expenditures, to silence people who had something bad to say about his behavior, using doctored corporate records and bank forms to conceal those payments along the way, using doctored corporate records and bank forms to conceal those payments along the way. Quote, it's election fraud, pure and simple, prosecutor Matthew Colangelo said in his opening statement. It's election fraud. While Donald Trump was not charged with conspiracy, prosecutors argued he caused the records to be falsified because he was trying to cover up a violation of state election law. Okay, now this part right here gets largely left out of 90% of the media coverage around this. They're not drilling down on he was defrauding voters. This was dealing with a violation of New York State election law. This is the same guy who said that the 2016 election was rigged, even though he won it. And Hillary Clinton got 2.9 million more votes than him. And he said there was something like 5 million undocumented immigrants voting. So even though he won the 2016 presidential election through the Electoral College, he lost the popular vote, right? She got 2 million more popular votes than him. He said that was fraud. He lost the 2020 election. He lost the Electoral College vote and the popular vote to Joe Biden. He said that was fraud, even though his own Attorney General, William Barr, investigated and said there was no widespread election fraud. Okay. Donald Trump kept pushing the big lie and kept saying it was fraudulent. All right. So, and then we see in 2016, he committed election fraud. Imagine that. The guy that was screaming election fraud was being committed against him is found guilty of committing election fraud. So while Trump wasn't charged with conspiracy, prosecutors argued he caused the records to be falsified because he was trying to cover up a violation of state election law and falsifying business records with the intent to cover another crime raises the offense from a misdemeanor to a felony. So that's how we got to a felony. Now, this is a low-level felony, Class E felony under New York state law, lowest level felony. But this is how you go from the felony, this is how you go from the misdemeanor of falsifying business records to these 34 counts being bumped up to felonies. Now, this is the same guy, keep in mind, Donald Trump is the same guy who said that African Americans in Detroit and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Atlanta, Georgia were committing election fraud and voting illegally. This is the same guy who put in jeopardy the lives of Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, two election workers in the Atlanta, Georgia area. He's the same guy who said they were committing election fraud, and Rudy Giuliani said the same thing about them. This guy right here, this fraud, who's found guilty of election fraud, 34 counts of it. This is the chickens coming home to roost. This is karma. This is all this evil coming back on this son of a bitch right here. Okay. And we have to make sure November 5th, 2024, there's overwhelming votes to stop his ass at the voting box, at the ballot box. We have to make sure he never gets into any elected position, political position ever again. He's a threat to national security. He's a threat to democracy. When you study Project 2025 and what the Heritage Foundation wants to do, and allies of Donald Trump, they're trying to take this country back to the 1890 Mississippi State Convention. They're trying to take us back even before then. Okay, this is extremely dangerous. This is extremely dangerous. And isn't it ironic that it was an African American district attorney that brought these charges against Donald Trump as well in Manhattan, Alvin Bragg? That's very ironic. Okay, and you have African Americans. You still have the case pending in Georgia with Fonnie Willis. You still have the documents case in Florida, even though we know the judge there has been helping Donald Trump because he nominated her. Okay, and you have the federal case with special counsel Jack Smith. All those cases are going to happen, not before the election, afterwards. Justice is not done with Donald Trump. Okay, the worst thing that he ever did was run for president. The worst thing he ever did was run for president, because that put he and his business practices under a microscope. Okay, and then we found out about all this corruption, even though it was suspected he was inflating the property values of his various properties, even though it was suspected he wasn't a billionaire. And now he's raising money, right? So he's raised over $50 million since the verdict. Okay. Small donations have come in from his supporters, and he's sending out information asking for them to send in donations. Why does a billionaire need you to donate money for his legal fees? Why does a billionaire? Remember, this is the same guy in 2016 when he ran for president. This is the same guy who said he was very rich. He was going to self-finance his campaign. He didn't need anybody's money. This is that guy. One of the biggest frauds in history. But he's extremely dangerous as well. This is the same guy that incited the January 6, 2021 insurrection and left most of those people holding the bag because he could have given them a pardon before he left office. He left them holding the bag. They stormed the Capitol for him, right? And hundreds of them went to prison. And he's out chasing Playboy bunnies and who knows, he's cheated on all his wives. Who knows how many women he's cheated on Melania with since Stormy Daniels. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. All right, let's continue here. So this is how you get to the felony. And once again, this is a violation of New York State election law, and you're dealing with defrauding voters. You're dealing with defrauding voters. Now, Donald Trump maintained that the DA's office had no case, and there have been no crime. Let me see. Let me go down here just a second here. And then I want to go through and dispel some of these lies he's been telling also. We have some fact checks on this. Let's see here. Now, Donald Trump did not take the witness stand. Okay, so Trump was convicted after a sensational weeks-long trial that included combative testimony from Michael Cohen, Trump's self-described former fixer, and Stormy Daniels, who testified that she had a sexual encounter with Trump in 2006 after she met him at a celebrity golf tournament. Donald Trump has denied her claim, and his attorney has suggested that Cohen acted on his own because he thought it would make the boss happy. So you're going to take out a mortgage on your house for $130,000 and pay off this woman that you didn't have sex with. Michael Cohen's going to pay off this woman he didn't have sex with to make Donald Trump happy? No, that's not what happened. And Donald Trump didn't know about it? Other witnesses included former White House staffers, among them advisor Hope Hicks, former Trump Organization executives, and former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker. All right, now, Donald Trump did not take the witness stand. After he said over and over again he would take the witness stand, just like a punk and the coward he is, he did not take the witness stand. His attorneys definitely would not let him take the witness stand because they know he would perjure himself. So he did all that grandstanding saying, yeah, he's going to take the witness stand. And I already knew he was lying. Now, Michael Cohen was the lone witness to testify to Donald Trump's direct involvement in the $130,000 payment. Michael Cohen was the lone witness to testify to Donald Trump's direct involvement in the $130,000 payment and the subsequent reimbursement plan. Now, Todd Blanche, one of Donald Trump's defense attorneys, spent days challenging Michael Cohen's credibility, getting Cohen to acknowledge he had a history of lying, including under oath. Michael Cohen said he was paid the Stormy Daniels cash in a series of payments from Donald Trump throughout 2017 that the Trump Organization characterized as payments pursuant to a retainer agreement, quote, for legal services rendered. However, prosecutors said there was no such agreement, and Michael Cohen's version of events was supported by documentary evidence and witness testimony. So Michael Cohen was not the only witness here. Michael Cohen brought documentary evidence. This is why I said from the beginning, this is a documents case, okay? And I was 98% sure that Donald Trump would be found guilty because this is a documents case. There's a paper trail on this. And sure enough, he was. Now, defense attorney Todd Blanche contended that the series of checks then President Trump paid Michael Cohen in 2017, quote, was not a payback to Michael Cohen for the money that he gave to Ms. Daniels, end quote, and that he was being paid for his legal work as Trump's personal lawyer. But what came out in the trial is that he was paid the $130,000 plus the taxes he would have to pay on the $130,000. So he was paid double. Okay. And Donald Trump never did that. That came out in the trial also. All right. Now, okay, so read the rest of this article here. It's a good extensive article from NBCnews.com. They usually don't have articles this in depth. Donald Trump found guilty in historic New York hush money case. Donald Trump found guilty in historic New York hush money case. You know, New York Times, Washington Post, they usually have a lot of their articles are more detailed than articles coming from NBC News, because I read New York Times, Washington Post every day, as well as NBC News and ABC, things like that, Associated Press, etc. I want to go to some fact checking dealing with some of these lies that Trader-in-Chief Donald Trump told. Okay. I want to go to some of these lies. Also, today's show, we'll give you information on the online history classes that I teach in my new online class that starts up Sunday, June 23rd, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. It's a fantastic class. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we have some, the information is right there, but we're going to post the links here as well. It's a 10-week online course that I teach, and we go through our history from 1800, starting with the Louisiana Purchase and the Haitian Revolution. And we go through our history to what leads to the Civil War taking place. We deal with the Reconstruction era, Jim Crow era, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power movement, all of that. Okay. So visit our website for that. All right. Now, I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, May 31st, and we talked about the verdict in the trial. So I want to go to a segment of excerpt. Let's see here. I want to go to an excerpt of the show here. Let's go to this here. Let me flip over. All right, here we go.
And the folks at 11 Films, they were up.
Guilty. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. Count 12, guilty. Count 13, guilty. Count 14, guilty. Count 16, guilty. Count 17, guilty. Count 18, guilty. Count 19, guilty. Count 20, guilty. Count 21, guilty. Count 22, guilty. Count 23, guilty. Count 24, guilty. Count 25, guilty. Count 26, guilty. Count 27, guilty. Count 28, guilty. Count 29, guilty. Count 30, guilty. Count 31, guilty. Count 32, guilty. Count 33 and 34, guilty. That is Donald J. Trump, defendant, found guilty on all 34 felony counts.
Oh, my goodness. Don't you just love it? That's why, again, I'm rocking the Earl Campbell throwback jersey from the Houston Oilers. Of course, he was number 34. And so I just love it. I love it. I love it, y'all. Look, y'all see this here? Somebody posted this pretty damn funny here. They put some prison bars over Donald Trump's star on the Walk of Fame. That's pretty cool. And then I thought this photo was absolutely great because, you know, he's talking about appealing. Here's the problem. These are the judges of the Manhattan Appeals Court. 5 black women. Good luck with that appeal, player. Dr. Niambe Carter, Associate Professor, University of Maryland School of Public Policy out of D.C. Michael Imhotep hosts the African History Network show out of Detroit. Jelana Jones, Texas State Representative and lawyer out of Houston. Glad to have the 3 of y'all. Niambe, I'm cracking up laughing because MAGA has been losing their minds. I mean, the crying and the wheezing and the whining and the threatening. I mean, they have been losing it. And I'm sitting here going, I'm confused. Y'all are literally defending somebody who cheated on his wife, slept with a porn star, lasted 90 seconds, then asked his attorney to pay a hush money, hid the payment, breaking campaign finance laws, and that's y'all martyr?
Well, I mean, we know this has never been about values or someone being conservative or a traditional family man. This is about white male power. And what they're really crying about is the fact that a white man like Donald Trump, who they think of as infallible and all-powerful, faced any kind of repercussion or consequence. Because you know what he could have just did? Cheat on his wife. Not paid the hush money, because clearly this cult of people do not care what this man does. Instead, he committed a crime to cover up something that, quite frankly, seemed to be right in his wheelhouse. This has never been a man known to be faithful in his marriages. I mean, we've seen the transcripts from the various memoirs from Marla Maples to Ivana Trump. So I don't know what this was about, other than the fact that these people can't stand that their leader, if you will, lost, because they treat him almost like a deity. But I mean, you know, he found out.
Michael, if you really want to see a video of a really just shameful and pathetic black man is this dude right here.
I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice justice system. D.A. Bragg and the judge should be ashamed of themselves. This isn't just ridiculous. This actually erodes the confidence that Americans have in the justice system. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. But good news is coming. D.A. Bragg, hear me clearly. You cannot silence the American people. You cannot stop us from voting for change. Joe Biden's injustice, Joe Biden's two-tier injustice system, weaponizing the justice system of the United States of America against a political opponent, un-American. Joe Biden, you're fired. We the people stand with Donald Trump. I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice.
Here, how dare you? I mean, this is an abomination. This is a sham, like my engagement. I mean, what am I sitting here talking about? I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, Joe Biden, how dare you? No, put Tim in the box. How dare you? I can't believe y'all did this to my man. All the ass that I've been kissing, I've been sitting here backing this man. I mean, I've been sitting here. I mean, what is wrong? How dare y'all do that to my patron saint? What's wrong with y'all? This ain't right. This ain't fair. Y'all gonna keep me from becoming the vice president. I can't believe y'all did this to my man. What's wrong with y'all? This is not the United States of America. This is a banana republic, and this don't make no sense. I'm highly pissed off. This is the most bass I've had in my voice ever in my life, and this is just wrong, wrong, wrong. Damn it, I need a lollipop.
Michael, go ahead.
You know, this is what a certified Negro who is still under warranty looks like. Senator Tim Scott is a total disgrace. Okay. And I know he likes to talk about he went from picking cotton to Congress in one generation and things like this. But his ancestors to pick cotton in South Carolina, if they came back to see what he's doing now, they probably slapped the black off of him. OK, so this is a just ruling. Number one, it was a jury of Donald Trump's peers. He went out today rambling, and numerous news outlets have fact checks on the lies he was telling, like the Washington Post from Trump Tower lobby, a gusher of falsehoods about the trial. And then also keep in mind that during the 2016 campaign, Donald Trump was saying, Hillary Clinton's emails, but it was Donald Trump's own State Department. And I'm looking at the article from the New York Times, October 18, 2019. State Department inquiry into Clinton emails finds no deliberate mishandling of classified information. Okay, so it's very interesting why he wanted to hang that over Hillary Clinton's head during the 2016 campaigns, and we found out his own State Department exonerated her. He gets busted trying to influence the 2016 campaign. Okay, so this goes beyond paying just quote unquote hush money to an adult film star. This deals with trying to suppress information that he knew and his campaign knew would drastically influence the 2016 campaign against him. He was losing votes with women after the Access Hollywood video came out. We have to use this as a teaching opportunity, because these videos and things like this, these are good. But if his ass wins the presidency in 2024, we're all going to be crying. Okay. And then lastly, I saw the picture and the meme that you posted about the 5 African-American female judges. I posted an article about this. They're 5 of 21 appellate court judges. And they're chosen, if you read the article, misleading photos suggest Trump would face an all-black, all-female panel of judges on appeal. It's from the Dispatch. These are 5 appellate court judges, but it's a total of 21 appellate court judges. And it's usually a panel.
Michael, there's a phrase in radio called "go with the bit." You go with
that comes from the time during the morning.
No.
It's called
"Go with the bit." Right, Michael? You're fucking up the bit. Okay. We don't need you explaining.
You can go with the bit.
Michael. Go with the bit. Don't mess the bit up. You got to. I read an article in the Dispatch, and there are actually 21. Michael, go with the bit. Don't fuck up the bit. Okay, I got it. Okay, no, Michael, go with the bit. Okay, I know there are 21 judges. No shit. I Googled it, but go with the bit.
I'm providing evidence.
Damn, you Sigmas, you fuck shit up. Go with the bit.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
No,
all right. Go with the bit. Anyway. All right. Now, if y'all want to see somebody totally out of control, is crazy deranged Megyn Kelly. This is her last night on News Nation. And talk about just trying her best to kiss Trump's ass.
Organization wrote down legal expenses from the drop-down Adobe menu, and that made as much sense as anything else because hush money wasn't an option. He was paying his lawyer who had made the payment to Stormy Daniels, and he was, I believe, reimbursing her, though he denied that, reimbursing him, though he denied that on the stand. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. I think you pay your lawyer money because he outlaid money for you. You could easily classify that as a legal expense.
No matter what it's for, right? Even if it's illegal conduct, you can just put it's a legal expense, right?
This wasn't illegal. There's nothing illegal about paying hush money for an NDA. It's done
there's not.
all the time.
But when you're doing it to protect your campaign, it is. That's the difference.
No. What law are you citing, Dan?
Campaign finance laws. You're not allowed to give the...
You don't know what you're talking about.
You're wrong. Explain to me.
Let me explain to you.
Tell me what I'm getting wrong. Tell me what I'm getting wrong. When you're spending $130,000...
I'll explain.
Go ahead.
I get it, because you're saying that there are limits to the campaign contributions somebody could make, and this has exceeded them, and then they hit it. I understand. That's his theory. However, this has been wrong from the start.
Yeah.
It does not amount to a campaign contribution if it is the kind of payment that could ever be made outside of the campaign context.
That's not the standard. The standard is substantiality. It's not. It's substantiality.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
You're wrong.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Well, I guess we're going to have to agree.
There's been Supreme Court precedent on this. Talk to Brad Smith, who was the...
Jelana, she can just run her damn mouth all day. Here's what we know. His ass guilty.
34 times. Absolutely. But here's what's killing me, man. I told my mama I need some grapes, some crackers, and some brie to go with all this damn whining that they're doing. It makes not a lick of sense. And first of all, I don't know why they whining, because other people, because my other job as a part of being a state representative is I'm a criminal defense lawyer for 29 years. When you get convicted, they normally give you bond conditions. You don't get to just walk free, keep your passport, go and speak everywhere, talk bad about the judge. You don't get to do that. Other people would be locked up. So they should be shouting hallelujah that he's getting special treatment. That's one thing that's incredibly bothersome to me. They talked about Mark Burnett. I don't know if you remember this, Roland, but I was on a show called Survivor. And back on Juneteenth of 2020, a number of Black survivors sued, we started negotiating and threatened to sue Survivor, Mark Burnett, Jeff Probst, because they were anti-Black. And as a result of that, all of a sudden you see diversity. So I have the documents if you ever want to talk about that. So Mark Burnett, even in other shows that he has had a bias against Black people specifically. So this whole 34 counts, most times that doesn't happen, right? You have a whole bunch of counts, they throw something out. The evidence against Donald Trump was so pervasive and so overwhelming that even people on the jury who supported his dumb ass voted to convict him. So I'm sick of the whining. I'm gonna need for them to stop doing all that. And as the gentleman said, the first person that you talked to, what we need to do is we need to vote. And the reason that we vote is because 2 Supreme Court justices are going to be on the ballot. They just are. Alito and Thomas, And if Donald Trump wins, he's going to put some young ass people on the Supreme Court, and they're going to be there past the lifetimes probably of our children. And if you think that we can't go back to how it was pre-Jim Crow, where they're lynching, then we need to worry, because the people that are going to get the most stepped on are us. It's always black people. When he was talking last night, he was talking about letting people come in from Africa. Newsflash. And notice he said all these countries that the Republicans hate, and Muslims, he said, but he didn't say Europe. So it's fine for us to let people come in from Europe. I wonder why that is. Because maybe, but you don't want Hispanics, you don't want black people, you don't want Muslim people. He is going to exact revenge on us. So we know what happens when we stay home. It happened in 2016.
Yep.
And things got really bad. So we came out and we voted in 2020. Thank God. We better vote in 2024, because our children's lives and our grandchildren's lives are going to depend on it. And that's a fact.
Now, when you talk about the whining, this to me was absolutely wonderful yesterday. Listen to this.
I want to get John in for one final comment. If there is a conviction, what happens to markets tomorrow? Very simple.
I think markets crash tomorrow if there's a conviction, but I think they will bounce back, because look, even if they put Donald Trump in jail, I think the American people will vote him into president. We will vote him into the White House right out of the New York City jail. It's an outrageous trial, and people can see.
But if there's a conviction, you think there'll be a crash?
I think the markets will do very badly.
What are you talking about, 1,000-point loss?
I think we'll see at least a 2% drop.
Okay. John Carney, I want to thank you.
That was y'all John Carney. John Carney said the markets are going to crash. They're going to tank. They're going to be down 2%. Henry, go to my iPad. The Dow gained 600 points today, y'all. So all that nonsense didn't happen. Do y'all see how crazy these people are? Understand, they predict doom and gloom, and it was up 600 points. Let's beat his ass by at least 400 electoral college votes. Because
all right. Okay, so that was Friday, May 31st, when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now, I want to deal with a couple of things. And this is so, I said the same thing when we dealt with Representative Jasmine Crockett's comments in her argument with Marjorie Taylor Greene in the House Oversight Committee. And people were putting out all these videos and things like this, and creating music from AI, artificial intelligence, and everything. I said, in those songs, you need to tell people go vote, because Republicans can maintain control of the House of Representatives, take back control of the Senate. Joe Manchin is not running for re-election in West Virginia. He just registered as an independent, but he's not running for re-election. So Republicans will probably win West Virginia, because there's not another Democrat in West Virginia who can win a Senate seat. The other senator from West Virginia is a Republican, Shelley Moore Capito. So while people out here putting out these videos and laughing and things like this, I'm saying, no, you need to be, we have to tell people to vote 2024 and vote for Joe Biden, because no third party can. This is about math. Let's be very clear on this. This is about math. I've talked about this here on the show before. It takes 270 electoral college votes to become president-elect. You win the electoral college votes associated with a state, not win the electoral college vote, and not win the electoral college votes, which is the middle of December. Because the Electoral College doesn't vote until the first Monday following the second Wednesday in December. You become president-elect by winning the Electoral College votes associated with a state, and you do that by winning the popular vote in the state. You do that by winning the popular vote in the state. So anybody that tells you the popular vote does not matter has never read the U.S. Constitution, because the U.S. Constitution created the Electoral College. Go to archives.gov, go to, which is the U.S. National Archives, go to loc.gov and read the U.S. Constitution. And here's my copy of the Constitution right here. The Declaration of Independence and other great documents of American history, 1775 to 1865, edited by John Grafton. This is from Dover Books, Dover Publication, Dover Publishing. So there's a good article, and I've talked about this here on the show before, and I've cited this in some of my presentations. Read this article right here. All these people talking about voting third party. They obviously don't understand how the Electoral College works. No third party candidate has won a single Electoral College vote since 1968, when Governor George Wallace, governor of Alabama, won 46 Electoral College votes, and he still lost. Jill Stein didn't win any Electoral College votes in 2016. Ralph Nader didn't win any Electoral College votes in 2000. Ralph Nader helped George W. Bush become president. Jill Stein helped Donald Trump become president. Read this article right here from slate.com. A romp through history's most successful third-party presidential candidates. A romp through history's most successful third-party presidential candidates. A cavalcade of populists, socialists, and segregationists came long before Ralph Nader and Ross Perot. Now, this is from July 3rd, 2023. Who's read this article before? Okay. And for the sake of time, we're going to go right here. You know, they talk about Strom Thurmond running as a Dixiecrat. Strom Thurmond lost. But this is when we look at George Wallace. Okay. George Wallace, 1968. And we know Richard Nixon won the 1968 presidential election. George Wallace won an astounding 13.5% of the popular vote. 5 states in the South. These are former Confederate states: Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And he won 46 Electoral College votes. Richard Nixon narrowly won the popular vote, but he overwhelmingly won the Electoral College with 301 Electoral College votes. 301 Electoral College votes. Let's see. Just a second. I lost my place here. I wanted to increase the size. Okay. This is George Wallace. 1968, George Wallace. He ran as the candidate for the American Independent Party. The American Independent Party. Let's see here. Okay, so Hubert Humphrey, who was the Democratic candidate, got 191 Electoral College votes. George Wallace attempted to win the presidential nomination on the Democratic ticket in 1972 and 1976 and never succeeded, but he won some states in his primaries along the way. After the 1968 race, he served two more terms as Alabama's governor and continued his states' rights tirades, failing to significantly deliver on improved conditions for even the small subset of white working people he claimed to support. All right. So these segregationists screw over white people also. They just need their votes to get into power. They screw over white people as well. And we know George Wallace, you know, he says segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation for. Okay. But go through and read this. So all these people out here talking about third party voting, that could very well help Donald Trump become president again, just like Jill Stein helped Donald Trump in 2016. And Jill and Donald Trump's margin of victory in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, Jill Stein got more votes than Donald Trump's margin of victory in those 3 battleground states. Jill Stein got 50,000 votes out of Michigan. Donald Trump won Michigan by 10,704 votes. There was also 50,000 people in Michigan who voted for everything else on the ticket and left president vacant, which is stupid. You know, that's something that dumbass Dr. Eddie Glaude said, who's on MSNBC, you know, from Princeton University, Dr. Eddie Glaude, the pseudo intellectual. He in 2016, he was on MSNBC, and this is one of these pseudo intellectual progressives like Cornel West. He told people, he was on MSNBC. He told people vote for everything except president because he didn't like Hillary Clinton. He said vote for everything except president. You don't have to like these people. You're not going to the prom with them. You're not trying to marry them. We have to understand how to use politicians and how to use politics as a tool to get policies in place that we want and protect policies that are already in place that are benefiting us. We have to, this is why I say stop telling African Americans to exercise their right to vote. You don't vote for exercise. If you want to exercise, you go to the gym and work out. You vote for power. You vote for power, and you vote for policies that are beneficial to you, to your family, to your community, etc. And policies that are good for African Americans are good for America in general. We have to understand political self-defense, and we also have to understand it's not only about what a politician can do for you, it's also about understanding how to block and stop what people are trying to do to you. And too many times we only look at the Democratic candidate, but we don't look at the threat coming from other people, the threat coming from the Republican candidate. I'm neither Republican nor Democrat, but I sure as hell ain't stupid. I can see who overwhelmingly keeps voting against our own interests. And if you go to congress.gov and you can look up these bills and you can see how you're a member of the House of Representatives and your two U.S. senators vote on these bills, okay, I can see who overwhelmingly votes against our own interests, and I can see who overwhelmingly votes for bills that are beneficial to us as well. Okay, so we have to be smarter. We have to this is not about emotions. This is not about feelings. This is why, you know, Biden and Harris were just in a week ago. They were in Philadelphia, and they have massive outreach that's taking place now, reaching out to the African American community. This is in addition to the economic opportunity tour that Vice President Kamala Harris is going on. But you're going to see more of these big rallies that they're holding, targeting African Americans, explaining what has been accomplished and explaining how these policies are helping the African American community and what needs to be protected. Okay. And you had different news outlets saying the Biden and Harris are courting the black voters, things like this. We need to get out of that. We need to check them. No, we need to tell these news outlets, whoever's putting this out here, we don't want to be courted. Come talk to us and explain policy to us. We ain't trying to marry you. We're not taking you to the prom. We're not trying to date you. If you're lonely, you need somebody to date, go to blackpeoplemeet.com. Okay? This is politics. We ain't trying to be courted. We need to understand you have to come explain policy to us and explain why your policies are better than somebody else. We need to get out of this because for the majority, like when Biden came here to Detroit to march on the picket line with the labor unions that were on strike, nobody said Biden is courting labor unions. He's very pro-labor. They said he's coming to support labor unions. Okay. When he goes and talks to other groups, they usually don't say, you may find 1 out of 10 headlines, 1 out of 10 publications, but they usually don't say, oh, he's courting this group, he's courting that group. No, we don't need to be courted. We ain't trying to marry none of these people. We need to understand how to use them as a political tool to fight these ignorant ass MAGA insurrectionists over here. These white supremacist MAGA insurrectionists over here. So this is why we have to understand political self-defense and get out of all these feelings and emotions. Okay, now let's look at this. Let's look at this piece here. Guess who came to dinner with Flynn and Putin? Guess who came to dinner with Flynn and Putin? Lieutenant General Michael Flynn and Vladimir Putin. NBC News reviewed video and photos from a 2015 Moscow gala that Mike Flynn was paid $45,000 to attend to see who else was in the room. Okay. Now, this is, we talked about this here on the show before. This article is from April 18th, 2017, NBCnews.com. It was updated April 18th, 2017, 9:30 a.m. Okay. So we talked about this here on the show before. This is not new. Here you have Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Okay, now this is this article came out April 2017. Now, this took place in December 2015. December 2015. The head table of a gala celebrating the 10th anniversary of Russia Today in December of 2015 included Russian President Vladimir Putin and American retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Okay, who's at this table? Here's Vladimir Putin. And to the right of Vladimir Putin is Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. And across from these two is Jill Stein, who ran for president in 2016, lying, saying that there was no difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. That was a damn lie. Okay. Then Donald Trump wins. Jill Stein gets more votes out of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania than Donald Trump's margin of victory, because people fell for the third party trick, the third party hoax once again, because they didn't understand how the Electoral College works, because they haven't read the U.S. Constitution, because the U.S. Constitution, 1787, 1788, created the Electoral College. Then Donald Trump becomes president, and who becomes Donald Trump's first national security advisor? Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. I'll be damned. Now, who would have saw that coming? And he lasted 27 days because they found some they found some corruption on his end. He was forced to resign. Okay. Donald Trump's first national security advisor was Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, and here he is in December 2015, sitting right next to Vladimir Putin, sitting right across from Jill Stein at the 10th anniversary of Russia Today news propaganda media outlet. I'll be damned. Who would have saw that coming? Somebody that watches the African History Network show, because I warned y'all I warned y'all in 2016. People ain't want to listen. I told you. All right. Here's this article. Go read this article. I warned people when I was on 9:10 a.m. WFDF, week after week after week. I was warning people. People thought I was playing. And I said, this is about the Supreme Court. I talked about Russia. I said, this is about the Supreme Court. Donald Trump got 3 Supreme Court justices. If he wins again, he can get 2 more, because Clarence Thomas and Chief Justice John Roberts, they're going to resign. They're going to step down, so he can nominate 2 ultra conservatives in their 30s, so they can be on the Supreme Court for the next 40 years, possibly 50 years ruling, because this is a lifetime appointment. So he would have gotten 5 Supreme Court justices. Donald Trump said he could grab women by the vagina, and his Supreme Court actually did. When they struck down Roe versus Wade, his Supreme Court actually did. Keep playing around. Okay, now, when I was on Roland's show, I talked about I saw on Instagram. I first saw it on Instagram, and it was the picture of the 5 African-American female judges, appellate court in New York, right? And I saw Joanne Reed. I saw Joanne Reed posted, and I also saw D.L. Hughley and Viola Davis. And I said, wait a second, I want to do some research before I just share this stuff. Okay, because it didn't seem right. Not saying that it didn't seem right that they were judges or appellate judges, but I said, no, I think it's more than 5. This article, this is what I mentioned on Roland Show. He said I was messing up the bit. No, I'm trying to provide factual information because there's too much misinformation out here in the first place. Misleading photo suggests Trump would face all black, all female panel of judges on appeal. Then it goes on to say, this is from the dispatch.com. The appellate court actually has 21 judges and 5 would be selected randomly to hear his case. Now, I posted this on our social media platforms to get the accurate information out. Okay. And that night, Friday night, after I did Roland Show, I was watching Alex Wagner on MSNBC, who comes on 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And she showed the picture and she put out the correct information, saying this is floating around and these are African-American female appellate court judges, but she explained that there are actually 21 judges. These are 5 of the 21. Okay, so here's what happened. So they talk about Trump being convicted on 34 felony counts. And it says in a post on X, formerly Twitter, with more than 1.4 million views, Elijah Schaffer, a Gateway pundit, asked, do you think Trump has a chance with the Manhattan Appeals Court? And included the following photo, okay, of these 5 African-American women, right? So, and it's gotten like 20,000, it's gotten 20,000 likes so far and 2,000 replies. Schaefer's post is misleading, okay? Now, I'm not saying he intended it to be misleading. He probably didn't do the research, but his post is misleading. While the women pictured are all members of the court that could hear an appeal to Trump's case, they are only 5 of the 21 justices who could be selected to sit for the case. Assuming Trump's legal team appeals the guilty verdict, the case will be passed to the state's appellate division, First Judicial Department. The state of New York's appellate division, First Judicial Department, which is a branch of the New York Supreme Court. The first Department Appellate Division is made up of 21 justices, each of whom is appointed by the governor to 5-year terms. Now, this is one of the reasons why governors are so important, because in a lot of states, governors appoint judges to they appoint judges to the appellate court. And this is a 5-year term. This is one of the reasons why judges are so important. Also, in a lot of states, judges give pardons. Judges give stays of execution. Now, a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 5 justices are randomly selected to sit in any given case, with the concurrence of 3 being necessary for a decision. With the concurrence, so 3 judges is at least 3 have to decide a case. Okay, the 5 justices pictured in the post: Justice Bahati Pitt Burke, Justice Troy K. Weber, President Justice Diane T. Renwick, Justice Tanya R. Kennedy, and Justice Marsha D. Michael are all members of the 21-person First Department Appellate Division. Now, that photo that has gone viral, okay, that photo was taken on February 24th, 2024, after the 5 judges had been selected to hear arguments together in several civil cases. The first time, this was the first time an all-black bench had ever sat in the history of the First Department. Okay, so through the luck of the draw and Trump being unlucky, there's a possibility he can end up with all 5 of these judges, but the probability is not likely. All right. So read this piece here from the Dispatch. Misleading photo suggests Trump would face an all-black, all-female panel of judges on appeal. And that's from the dispatch.com. This is why we have to do research before we just share social media posts. Even coming from somebody like Joanne Reed of MSNBC, she said that she was one of the first people I saw it. And I said, I need to go research this before I just share this type of information. All right. Now, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, because we definitely need your support. I don't have billionaire donors behind me. I don't work for the big networks, anything like that. I don't get paid to be on Roland. None of us get paid to be on Roland Show either, just so people understand. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays. And then, so our current class, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We had an excellent class on Saturday, June 1st. And this class is June 8th and June 22nd, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Click right here to register for the class. It's on sale $60. Its class is a little more than half off. We have the lesson plan here also for all the classes, all the class sessions, my lesson plan. So you can download the lesson plan right here. You can see the content, the extensive content that we cover in this class. There's over 200 slides that we look at. I put together this class. I'm the one who created it. I put together all the slides. There's 200 slides, 80 to 100 articles that we look at, 15 books that we reference. You don't have to purchase any of the books to follow along in class. I'll show you excerpts of the books on the screen. Also, the video clips of interviews I've done with some of our scholars, like Professor James Small and Professor Kabahai Watakamene, Anthony Browder, Runoko Rashidi. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Now, the new class that I have starting up Sunday, June 23rd, class number 1, Black Resistance Movements. Black Resistance Movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. So this class is on sale, $80. Register right here for the full class. There's bundle. There's bonus content that you can start watching as soon as you register for the class, okay? Because the last time I taught this class was early 2023. So we have the first 2 class sessions, and there's some other bonus content that you can start watching. And we have a course bundle. You can register for both of these classes for $120. So that's a big savings. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. You can watch the classes on demand. Even after the course is over with, you still have full access. Okay, so this helps support the African History Network. It helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. So if you like this type of information, these classes will totally blow you away. The content is PG-13, so you can use this with your children. It's not overly graphic or anything like that. I don't do a lot of cursing, anything like that in the class. It's very visual also, so it's very engaging. So register for the classes at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, you can support us through PayPal and Cash App, $ TheAHNShow, through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow. This is our official Cash App tag, $ TheAHNShow. These are some fake African History Network Cash App accounts out here that have been stealing money from us. Click right there on the link. It takes you to our QR code for Cash App. And then also you can click on the link here for PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, paypal.me/TheAHNShow. Okay, and then let's see. Sherry Jackson said, "Thank you, Mr. Imhotep. for all this great information. All right, thanks, Sherry. Okay, thanks, Sherry. We appreciate it. Hopefully you all learn a lot, and we definitely need you all's support as well, because this helps us keep doing the research, pay the bills, stay on the air, pay for these services that I use. Because this research is not free, and even teaching the class is not free. There's 2 digital platforms that I teach the class on, so that costs money as well. I have to pay them each month, whether I teach a class or not. All right, let's continue. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on the broadcast here, and let's continue. Okay, and I'm going to post the information here for the class. Also, we had a great class on Saturday, so as soon as you register, you can watch that class session and the previous ones and join us for the new class. Juneteenth is coming up. I will be speaking in Detroit at there's a big Juneteenth celebration taking place. I have to get it up on our website. There's a 3-day Juneteenth celebration, and one of the days is the 14th, 15th, and 16th. One of the days is taking place at the Joseph Walker Williams Center in Detroit, and also the Motown Museum. I think it's on the 14th. So we'll get that information on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, let me see, where is this here? I have this on our Facebook fan page. Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit Freedom Weekend. It's actually 3 days. Saturday, June 15th, 12 noon to 6 p.m. Now, I'll be on a panel discussion taking place at the Joseph Walker Williams Community Center, 8431 Rosa Parks Boulevard. The panel discussion that I'm on is at 3 p.m. Okay, so you don't want to miss that. And visit Jubilee. Let's see, the website is Jubilee, Juneteenth Jubilee DET.com. Juneteenth Jubilee DET.com. Visit that website. They have the information there for all 3 days. We'll get this up on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, so let's continue. Now, I want to go to the do some fact checking on these lies Donald Trump has been telling. Also, there have been threats against the jurors as well. Okay. Trump supporters tried to dox jurors and post violent threats after his conviction. Trump supporters tried to dox jurors and post violent threats after his conviction. This is from NBCnews.com. Reuters.com has an article on this as well. On social media and web forums, users called for jurors, judges, and prosecutors to be killed after the former president was found guilty on 34 felony counts. These are some crazy ass people, and they're gonna find who these people are making threats. They're gonna be prosecuted. Donald Trump's not gonna be able to help them. He may be in prison right next to them. Advanced Democracy, a nonprofit that conducts public interest research, said there has been a high volume of social media posts containing violent rhetoric targeting New York Judge Juan Merchan and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. And Alvin Bragg is African American, for those that don't know it, including posts with Bragg's purported home address. The group also found posts of the purported addresses of jurors on a fringe internet message board known for pro-Trump content and harassing and violent posts, although it is unclear if any actual jurors had been correctly identified. The posts, which have been reviewed by NBC News, appear on many of the same websites used by Trump supporters to organize for violence ahead of the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. These forums were hotbeds of threats inspired by Trump's lies about the 2020 election, which he lost, and that the voting system was rigged against him. This is the same thing he's saying about the trial. The trial was rigged against him. No, you're just guilty, and you are a fraud. You are a criminal and a fraud and a convicted felon. They now feature new threats echoing Trump's rhetoric and false claims about the hush money trial, including that the judicial system is now rigged against him. Dox the jurors, dox them now, one user wrote after Trump's conviction on a website formerly known as The Donald, which was popular among participants in the U.S. Capitol attack. That post appears to have been quickly removed by moderators. Okay, so read the rest of this here. So these crazy MAGA nuts are making threats against Judge Juan Merchan, against Alvin Bragg, against the jurors, etc. This is what these cowards do. And there was also one from Reuters. Let's look at this one here also. Trump supporters call for riots and violent retribution after verdict. Now, this is from May 31st, 2021, from Reuters.com. Let's pull this one up as well. Okay, this is by Joseph Tanfani, Ned Parker, and Pete Eisler. Trump supporters call for riots and violent retribution after verdict, May 31st, 2024. This article is from. Let's see here. Some called for attack on jurors, the execution of the judge, Justice Juan Merchan, or outright civil war, and armed insurrection. Someone in New York with nothing to lose needs to take care of Merchan, wrote one commentator on patriots.win. Just all type of nutty, crazy stuff here. Okay, so you can read that one as well. So hopefully they find these thugs making these threats. And bring them to justice and convict them like Donald Trump was convicted. Now, Donald Trump went out after the verdict, told a bunch of lies then and subsequent days. Washington Post has a good fact check on a lot of these lies he was telling. New York Times has one also. I was looking at the one from the New York Times as well. One from the New York Times is, he was telling so many lies that news organizations cut away from Trump's misleading speech. This is a piece from the New York Times. This is from Friday, May 31st, 2024. From the Trump Tower lobby, a gusher of falsehoods about the trial. This is an analysis by Glenn Kessler for the Washington Post, May 31st, 2024. If we just look at a few of these here, a few of these lies he was telling. He said, we just went through one of many experiences where we had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. Trump speaking to reporters at Trump Tower, May 31st. Okay, so he said Judge Juan Merchan was a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. Okay. Well, here's the truth behind what he was saying. Here's the fact check on it. Donald Trump exaggerates. Surprise, surprise. New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan, who was randomly assigned the case, has an adult daughter who was active in left-leaning campaigns, including doing some work for Vice President Kamala Harris's nascent presidential campaign. When Vice President Kamala Harris, when she ran for president, okay, she worked on, his daughter worked on that campaign. According to her LinkedIn profile, which was deleted after right-leaning websites drew attention to her work. In 2020, Judge Juan Merchan made a $35 donation in political contributions to Democrats. The judge made $35 in political contributions to Democrats, including $15 to Joe Biden's campaign. In 2023, Juan Merchan requested that the New York Advisory Committee on Judicial Ethics decide whether these facts constituted a conflict. Quote, a judge's impartiality cannot reasonably be questioned based on de minimis political contributions made more than 2 years ago, or the business and or political activities of the judge's first degree relative, where the relative has no direct or indirect involvement in the proceeding and no interest that could be substantially affected by the proceeding, end quote, the committee said. This was already ruled on by the Ethics Committee. Ethics Committee. Donald Trump is just lying. Accordingly, Juan Merchan denied Trump's request that he recuse himself. Okay, so read the rest of that. And then we have Donald Trump said, I'm under a gag order which nobody's ever been under. Well, now, no former president has ever been as crooked as Donald Trump has been, just so people understand. Trump, like anyone in the United States, has strong constitutional free speech rights, but unlike many defendants, he has repeatedly tested the limits with broad attacks on the judge, the judicial system, and witnesses in the cases against him, cases plural. Judge Juan Merchan initially imposed a narrowly tailored gag order aimed at protecting witnesses in the case, court personnel, and jurors, but then expanded it April 1st, 2024, after Trump appeared to cross a line again. Donald Trump is going to talk his way into a prison cell. A gag order has also been imposed in the federal criminal case alleging that Trump sought to overturn the 2020 election. That order, which applied to all trial participants, was upheld by the U.S. Court of Appeals. Now, Donald Trump is lying when he says this is all done by Biden and his people as well. Quote, just so you understand, this is all done by Biden and his people. This is false. There's no evidence that President Joe Biden has anything to do with this case, which was brought by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, a local Democratic prosecutor. Alvin Bragg inherited the file from a previous prosecutor, Cyrus R. Vance Jr. The tenuous connection cited by Donald Trump supporters is that Matthew Colangelo, one of the prosecutors working for Alvin Bragg, served as acting associate attorney general, the third ranking position at the Justice Department, before joining Alvin Bragg's office in late 2022. But prosecutors change offices. There's nothing unusual. And Alvin Bragg is the district attorney. He's the one that calls the shots. But prosecutors change jobs all the time. All right, now, Donald Trump lied and said we weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. That's a lie. This is misleading, to say the least. Judge Juan Merchan did not bar the expert, former Federal Election Commission Chair Bradley A. Smith, from testifying, but he limited what Bradley A. Smith could say about federal campaign finance laws. He said that if he allowed Bradley A. Smith to speak expansively in the realm of legal opinion, then the prosecutor would be permitted to bring in its own expert. Quote, there is no question this would result in a battle of the experts, which will only serve to confuse and not assist the jury, end quote, Judge Juan Merchan said. So Trump is lying once again. Now, after the ruling, after Juan Merchan's ruling, Trump's defense team chose not to call Mr. Smith, okay, Bradley Smith. Later in his rambling remarks on Friday, May 31st, Donald Trump seemed to acknowledge this tactical decision, saying, quote, he actually said, you can't testify for anything having to do with the trial. You can say what the federal election is. Well, that doesn't help, end quote. This is what Donald Trump is telling on himself. He's admitting he's lying. And he's admitting he knows the truth. Then Donald Trump always likes to talk about crime. Crime is running rampant, things like this. Now, crime has fallen each year of the Biden-Harris administration. But the reason why Donald Trump thinks that crime is increasing and crime is running rampant, right? The reason why is because when you're hit with 88 felony counts and 4 indictments, and people around you are being charged with felony counts, you think that everybody's committing crimes because you've committed so many, and all your friends are being charged and indicted. So you think everybody's committing crimes. All right, let's continue here. Let's go to this next fact check here. We had a DA who is a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. This is what Donald Trump said. This is incorrect. Quote, New York City saw continued reductions in overall crime through the first quarter of 2024, both above ground, on streets throughout the 5 boroughs, and below ground within the nation's largest subway system, end quote, the New York Police Department said in April 2024. Now, this does not mean that everything's perfect. This does not mean no crime takes place, no murders take place, no. But they have seen a reduction in crime, continued reductions that are documented. Year over year, there were sharp decreases in murder and burglary, modest declines in rape and grand larceny, and modest increases in robbery and felony assault. Okay, so, but overall, you see the crime is down in the five boroughs overall and across the country. Each year of the Biden-Harris administration, you've seen a decrease in crime. Doesn't mean that crime does not happen. Doesn't mean murders don't happen. We have crime here in Detroit, but even in Detroit, we've seen a decrease in crimes as well. Okay, we dealt with the falsifying business records and all of that. We talked about that. Okay, so you can read the rest of this here. Okay, you can read the other fact checks, but I don't have time to go through all this. You can read the rest of this. From the Trump Tower lobby, a gusher of falsehoods about the trial. And a lot of news outlets have the fact checks on this, providing the evidence, breaking this down, showing how Donald Trump is just flat out lying, just flat out lying. But he appeals to a lot of ignorant people that don't read. Okay, now let's see. We did that. Let me see. All right, I think I got through all the articles. I have other articles, but that's enough. I think I got through most of what I wanted to get through dealing with that. But this is why elections have consequences. This is why this is so important. So I mentioned this when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. And Roland even went to whitehouse.gov and talked about the American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that no Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for, that saved America, that saved the economy, that opened back up America from dealing with COVID and schools were able to open back up, all of that. Okay. This is at whitehouse.gov. This is a 36-page document that shows how the policies of the Biden-Harris administration are helping the African-American community. So I hear a lot of these Black social media disinformation agents out here that don't do research, that will never show you this, never take you through this. I've gone through this numerous times here on the African History Network show. The reason why they won't show this to you, the reason why they won't take you through it, is because if they took you through it, then they would expose the fact that they've been lying when they say they haven't done anything to help Black people, anything like that. Now, as I've talked about before, Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Section 601, non-discrimination and federally assisted programs, makes race-based policies illegal. It's illegal to have policies that are only for one race of people. You can go to archives.gov and read the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and it breaks this down. Or you can just Google, why are race-based policies illegal at the federal level? And that's the first thing that's going to come up. Okay. So, but when we go through and look at these policies, we see how overwhelmingly they've been helping the African-American community. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. Now, this version was last updated February 27th, 2023. They have a new version that came out in February 2024 that's condensed, and it's like 9 pages. This is the full 30. This is the full 36-page one. I like to use this one. They talk about economic opportunity for African Americans, creating more than 12 million jobs total. Now it's over 15 million jobs. 2.6 million of those 15 million jobs went to African Americans. That's about 17% last time I checked. Okay. Lowering energy costs and creating economic opportunities through the Inflation Reduction Act. No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the Inflation Reduction Act. And this deals with fighting climate change. And we know African Americans are disproportionately hurt by climate change. Okay. Including African Americans who have been at the front line of climate change by lowering costs, advancing environmental justice while building a cleaner future. I'll go through and read all that. Making home efficiency upgrades more affordable, creating economic opportunities and good paying jobs, providing relief to farmers. The Inflation Reduction Act includes $5.3 billion that will provide relief to tens of thousands of farmers. Of that money, $3.1 billion will help distressed borrowers pay off their farm debts without ultimately taking the land or making the farmer ineligible for future assistance. An additional $2.2 billion will go to farmers who have suffered discrimination by the U.S. Department of Agriculture farm programs, making critical investments in Black families and communities in the American Rescue Plan. historic expansion of the child tax credit, cutting child poverty to record lows for Black children. The child tax credit that was part of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, and no Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for this bill out of 260 Republicans in both the House and the Senate. It lifted 1 million African-American children out of poverty. Okay, now it did expire, but you can get this back. You get 55 Democrats in the Senate. You can do a carve out to the filibuster. You can get that passed again. Okay, you can get that put in place again. Supporting child care providers and reducing child care costs for Black families. The American Rescue Plan provided a $39 billion lifeline to help child care providers stay open and compensate early childhood educators as they provide safety and healthy environments for children and help parents work. Okay, so you have Republicans saying open the child care centers, open the child care centers, open the schools back up, right, during COVID. But when it came time to fund opening the child care centers back up, when it came time to fund opening the schools back up, because you needed smaller classrooms, you had to pay for personal protection equipment, you needed to pay for new ventilation systems as well, right? Only Democrats voted for this bill. It was Democrats that wrote it, Democrats that wrote the bill. How you vote shows me what you value. Now, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but sure as hell ain't stupid. I can see who keeps voting against bills that are beneficial for us. States have already delivered American Rescue Plan stabilization grants to more than 200,000 child care providers, 1 in 5 of whom are African American, serving as many as 9.5 million children and their families. Read the rest of this here. It goes through, it takes you through category by category. The American Rescue Plan tripled the earned income tax credit for 17 million workers without dependent children. It helped Black Americans stay in their homes. President Biden's American Rescue Plan has helped Americans, including Black Americans, stay in their homes by providing emergency rental assistance. There was $46 billion in rental assistance for renters as well as landlords also. As of June 2022, African Americans were the largest group that received this help, representing more than 41% of the aid recipients. Now, these Black social media disinformation agents out here that are telling you don't vote and Biden and Harris haven't done anything to help Black people, are they explaining this to you? Have they shown you this? Have they taken you through this document? Now, I've taken my viewers through this a number of times. This document first came out October 2021 and has been updated every 6 to 9 months or so. So we can go back to late 2021 when we first went over this document. Who's explaining this to you? And I mentioned this on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I want Roland to pull this up on have his control room pull it up, or have him pull up on his iPad. He did show they have one at whitehouse.gov that specifically deals with the American Rescue Plan. He did show that, but I wanted him to show this one right here. This is for all these people out here putting this bullshit out here, lying to African Americans, all these disinformation agents lying to African Americans. They will never take you through this because you'll realize they're lying and people will stop watching them. Extending a lifeline to struggling small businesses and expanding access to capital. It goes through and takes you through all this. You go to whitehouse.gov, they have other information there, like the $16 billion that have been allocated to HBCUs since 2021 from the Biden-Harris administration. It's a record. That's a record amount of funding over those 3 years for HBCUs, $16 billion. Senator Tim Scott won't talk about that. Ensuring Black homeowners get full value for their homes. In March 2022, the Biden-Harris administration's interagency task force on property appraisal and valuation equity acronym PAVE, released the PAVE Action Plan, which represents the most wide-ranging set of reforms, ever put forward to advance equity in the home appraisal process. Federal agencies are taking action on bias across all stages of the valuation process. For example, in January 2023, the Department of Housing and Urban Development proposed new guidance to make it easier and quicker for prospective borrowers applying for Federal Housing Administration, FHA insured loans to request a reconsideration of value on a property if the initial valuation is lower than expected or there is indication of illegal bias. Because we know there have been numerous stories in the news about African-American homeowners. They get a low valuation from a white appraiser, and then they take down all the African art and the pictures and things like this and have somebody white pretend to be the homeowner, and then they call an appraiser back out and the home value skyrockets, right? We know that African-American homes are valued at $156 billion less than comparable white homes. The Brookings Institute had their report that came out a few years ago that documented this and talked about the segregation tax and how African-American homes are valued at $48,000 less on average than comparable white homes. Protecting Black Americans' access to housing by combating housing discrimination. You can read that. New actions to protect renters and promote rental affordability. Leveraging federal procurement to narrow the racial wealth gap for Black entrepreneurs and families. Federal procurement is one of our most powerful tools to advance equity and build wealth. Now, median household wealth for African Americans has increased 60% under the Biden-Harris administration also, just so people understand. Federal procurement is one of our most powerful tools to advance equity and build wealth in underserved communities, but only around 10% of federal agencies' total eligible contracting dollars typically go to small disadvantaged businesses, a category under federal law that includes Black-owned businesses. Recognizing the importance of using the government's purchasing power to advance opportunity and equity, the Biden-Harris administration has launched an all of government effort to expand contracting opportunities for underserved small businesses, including Black-owned businesses. President Biden has set a goal of increasing the share of federal contracting dollars to small disadvantaged businesses by 50% by the year 2025, that's next year, projected to translate to an additional $100 billion to minority-owned businesses and helping more Americans realize their entrepreneurial dreams. Okay, so read the rest of this. Advancing equitable employment outcomes and boosting wages for Black federal workers. Now, he rated that African Americans make up 18.4% of the federal workforce. We know President Biden did an executive order making the minimum wage $15 an hour for federal employees. That was federal employees and contractors, if I remember correctly. On June 25th, 2021, President Biden signed an executive order on advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility, DEIA, in the federal workforce. This executive order launched a whole of government, WHOLE, initiative to cultivate a federal workforce that draws from the full diversity of the nation and that advances equitable employment opportunities for workers from underserved communities. Okay, so read the rest of that. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yep, $15 minimum wage. Okay. Further, President Biden has taken a series of executive actions leading to a $15 minimum wage for employees of federal contractors and federal employees. So I was correct. It's both federal employees and federal contract and employees of federal contractors. These actions impacted more than 370,000 workers in 2022 alone, including African-American workers who disproportionately make up this population, helping to address long-standing wage disparities. Okay, who's explaining this to you? Reversing decades of disinvestment through bipartisan infrastructure law That's the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. Okay, so read the rest of this here. I don't have time to get this is 36 pages. I don't have time to go through all this. But this and other documents like this are at whitehouse.gov, official website of the White House. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. So when we vote, we're voting to keep policies like this in place, because if Trump gets in office, he's going to reverse these policies. Okay? If Trump gets in office and Republicans maintain control of the House and gain control of the Senate, they're going to reverse policies that are beneficial to African Americans. All right, now let's quickly go to this other story here. This deals with the Negro Leagues. There was I posted this piece from CBSnews.com, and we talked about this on Roland Martin and Filter. We spoke with Josh Gibson's great grandson, actually. Josh Gibson of the Homestead Grays. Homestead Grays. I think I said Homestead Braves earlier. Homestead Grays. Josh Gibson becomes Major League Baseball career and season batting leader as Negro League Statistics Incorporated. And I saw a number of articles, and New York Times has a piece on this also that we posted on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. And you have some people who are happy about this. You have others who voted for Donald Trump who are upset about it. This is so there's one from the Associated Press also. This is the one from CBS News that I posted. Statistics from Negro Leagues officially integrated into Major League Baseball books. Just a second, let's flip over to this. Statistics from Negro Leagues officially integrated into Major League Baseball books, Major League Baseball record books. This is from May 29th, 2024. May 29th, 2024. From CBSnews.com. I'm trying to close out all these ads and stuff popping, the videos popping up. In a milestone decision, decades in the making, Major League Baseball announced Tuesday that it is now incorporating statistics of Negro leagues that operated in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s into record books. Okay, Negro leagues that operated in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s into record books. This initiative is focused on ensuring that future generations of fans have access to the statistics and milestones of all of those who made the Negro Leagues possible, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said in a statement provided to the Associated Press. Black players were barred from Major League Baseball until Jackie Robinson broke the league's color barrier in 1947 when he joined the Brooklyn Dodgers. That breakthrough ultimately led to the Negro Leagues ending play in 1960. Quote, their accomplishments on the field will be a gateway to broader learning about this triumph in American history and the path that led to Jackie Robinson's 1947 Dodger debut. Rob Manfred said in his statement. Now, in 2020, in the wake of America's reckoning with racial injustice following the murder of George Floyd, Major League Baseball announced that it was elevating 7 Negro leagues that operated from 1920 to 1948 to Major League status a move at the time meant approximately 3,400 players in those Negro leagues could be recognized by Major League Baseball for their on-field achievements. Wednesday's announcement, however, will take that a step further. The immediate impact of the incorporation will see Josh Gibson, one of baseball's greatest players, take multiple records from the likes of Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth per CBS Sports. Here's Josh Gibson. This is during the 12th annual East-West All-Star Game of the Negro Leagues. This is 1944. American baseball player Josh Gibson of the East team creates a cloud of dust as he slides into home plate during the fourth inning at Comiskey Park, Chicago, Illinois, on August 13th, 1944. West team's catcher Ted Ratcliffe is visible at right. Now, Josh Gibson will become the all-time leader in career batting average and at 372, passing Ty Cobb's mark of 366, according to CBS Sports. His career 718 slugging percentage will also be the all-time high mark now, surpassing Babe Ruth's previous record of 690, and he'll be the leader in career ops on base plus slugging percentage, with 1.177, passing Babe Ruth's mark of 1.164. Sean Gibson, who was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday with us, Sean Gibson is the great-grandson of Josh Gibson. He told USA Today in a statement on Tuesday, when you hear Josh Gibson's name, now it's not just that he was the greatest player in the Negro Leagues, but one of the greatest of all time. These aren't just Negro League stats, they're Major League Baseball stats, okay? Now, so read the rest of this piece here. And some people are saying, well, the Negro Leagues, those players, they didn't play with the best players. Well, that's what people have been saying about Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth and the rest of them for years. The white players didn't play with the best players. The best players were in the Negro Leagues. They were segregated out of baseball. Now, when we look at this history here, and I brought this up to Sean Gibson, Josh Gibson's great-grandson, because I was able to ask him a question. It was a gentleman's agreement in 1887. It was a gentleman's agreement that banned African-American players from being signed to contracts, new African-American players from being signed to contracts in Major League Baseball. It was not a written rule, okay? There is let me see. I looked at, I was looking at something on this. I think it was, History of Baseball and Civil Rights in America. This is at baseballhall.org. This is Baseball Hall of Fame. And it takes you throughout history. And it talks about the Moses Fleetwood Walker, okay, who was the last African-American player on an otherwise all-white major league team until Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947, right? But here's the thing: you could be you can be an Afro-Cuban, or you could be Afro-Latino, and still be signed to a contract, okay? Or you could just say, you were Afro-Latino or something like that and speak with an accent, and you could be signed to a contract. So this was specifically targeting African Americans. And this is, dealing with segregation. This gentleman's agreement was adopted shortly before Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896 U.S. Supreme Court case. The history of baseball and civil rights in America. Okay, this is at baseballhall.org, and it takes you through this history here. 1865, 1876. So during the Reconstruction era, following the Civil War between the North and the South, America experiences an era known as Reconstruction. So we talk about this in my new class that starts up June 23rd that you can register for right now. Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. Okay. So we talk about this. All right, now, so I'm looking at a breaking news story. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee has announced that she has pancreatic cancer, because I'm looking at Roland's Instagram page. Okay, she announces she has pancreatic cancer. Okay, and she has released a statement. All right, so we're praying that she beats that. All right, now, 1878, long before Jackie Robinson came on the scene, Bud Fowler becomes the first Black professional player to integrate white teams. Beginning in 1878, he will play in the minor leagues as a pitcher, catcher, and second baseman. Although Fowler, born in Fort Plain, a small town in upstate New York, he moved to Cooperstown, future site of the Hall of Fame, as a young boy. 1884, Moses Fleetwood Walker becomes the last Black baseball player on an otherwise all-white major league team. Until Jackie Robinson in 1947. 1887, Black players like Moses Fleetwood Walker would soon lose their place in baseball. In 1887, major league and minor league team owners adopted a secretive gentleman's agreement, or unwritten rule that said that no new contracts will be given to Black ball players. Okay, so this wasn't a written rule. Okay, this was an unwritten rule that shut us out of Major League Baseball. This gentleman's agreement, similar to Jim Crow laws adopted by some American states, effectively forces Black ball players out of all professional leagues by 1900. It's the same thing they did with horse racing. We dominated horse racing, won the Kentucky Derbies, won all the major races. The first Kentucky Derby ran in 1875. Oliver Lewis was a 19-year-old former slave. He won that, okay? But we were forced out of horse racing. There was an organized effort by jealous white men who were jealous of the type of money we were making to force us out of horse racing. 1896 U.S. Supreme Court case, Plessy versus Ferguson, rules that segregation by law is legal and advances the notion of separate but equal. This kind of segregation is known as de jure segregation, by law segregation. But in examining images of segregated water fountains, job advertisements that excluded African-American applicants, and even soda machines that prevented African-Americans from making purchases, this notion of quote unquote equal access and opportunity is proven to be false. Okay, so read the rest of this here. Then they go into the beginning of the Great Migration and World War I, and U.S. involvement in World War I starting in 1917. The history of baseball and civil rights in America. All right, now, lastly, last topic, and then I have to get out of here. And be sure to visit our website. If you, how do you all like this type of information? How do you all like this type of information? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Be sure to register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. We have a few more sessions of ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Kemet, one of the original names of Egypt. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understand the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That's on sale, $60. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. So we have the information right on the homepage of our website. We do that Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click right here and register here. As soon as you register, you can watch the previous classes. Join us in our next class session. Download the class lesson plan here. My new class that starts up Saturday, June 23rd, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Black resistance movements, Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. That's on sale, $80. Click right here to register for that. There's bonus content that you can start watching immediately. And you also get the last two sessions. You'll get the last two sessions of the ancient understanding the transatlantic slave trade. You get that also. Okay. We have a bundle pack where you can register for both full courses as well. That bundle pack is on sale, $120. Okay. And even after the course is over with, you can go back and watch the entire class. All right, now, and we'll post the link here. It's at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Back on May 10th, when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we talked about this story here of lawmakers, African-American lawmakers reintroducing the Crown Act. Okay, the Crown Act. And this fights discrimination against African-American hairstyles. There was a article from TheAHNShow that deals with this. And I was going through really researching this topic. But we'll see how far I can get with this. So we remember that they tried to get the Crown Act passed before it passed the House of Representatives. Most Republicans voted against it. I think only 14 Republicans voted for it. It died in the Senate. Let's look at this from TheAHNShow.com. Black lawmakers reintroduce bill to ban hair discrimination. This is from May 1st, 2024 by Cheyenne Daniels for TheAHNShow.com. And Representative Bonnie Watts Coleman, Democrat from New Jersey. She's one of the ones spearheading this. Let's see, Representative Bonnie Watts Coleman and Senator Cory Booker gathered outside the Capitol with fellow lawmakers as well as Adjo Asamo, co-founder of the Crown Coalition, and announced in the Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair Act, or the Crown Act. Okay. Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair Act. Now, the Crown Act also deals with economic opportunity, fighting racism. it deals with school discipline issues and civil rights also. Bonnie Watson Coleman, Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, said the lawmakers were reintroducing the bill for the simple reason that nobody, no worker, no student, no person should ever face discrimination because of how their hair grows out of their head, end quote. We cannot control the texture of our hair any way that we can't control the texture of our hair any way that we can control the color of our skin, Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman said. And yet, Black Americans routinely face discrimination simply because of the way their hair is. Now, a 2020 study from the year 2020 from Michigan State University and Duke Universities found that African American women with natural hair are often perceived as less professional and less competent than African American women with straightened hair or white women with straight or curly hair. Let me repeat that. A 2020 study from Michigan State University and Duke University found that African American women with natural hair are often perceived as less professional and less competent than African American women with straightened hair or white women with straightened or curly hair. They are also less likely to be referred for job interviews. Okay, so this has an economic impact also. They are also less likely to be referred for job interviews. More than 20% of Black women have been sent home from work because of their hair. 1/3 of Black women under the age of 40 believe they have been denied a job interview because of their hair. Quote, our hair plays a significant role in our overall well-being, self-esteem, cultural identity, and personal expression, Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman said. Discrimination against Black hair is discrimination against Black people. Discrimination against Black hair is discrimination against Black people, and we're going to put a stop to it, end quote. Now, the Crown Act would prohibit discrimination based on an individual's texture of hair or hairstyle that is coiled or tightly curled or in locks, cornrows, twists, braids, Bantu knots, afros, and any other style of hair commonly associated with a race or national origin in the definition of racial discrimination. Nobody should face harassment. Nobody should face harassment or discrimination based on their natural hair. And the Crown Act is an effort to heal a systemic bias that tells Black people that who they inherently are is wrong, Senator Cory Booker said. Prejudice against Black hair demeans an important foundation of our identity and cultural heritage, he continued. It's time that the long and storied history of implicit and explicit biases against natural hair comes to an end. Black hair is beautiful in all of its forms and styles, and we must ensure individuals are free to express their cultural identities without fear of prejudice or bias. So then they go on to talk about Representative Stephen Horsford, who's chair of the Congressional Black Caucus as well. And let me see. I'm just looking at here some comments. We know, okay. They talk about anti-Blackness. Representative Asamoah, co-founder of the Crown Coalition, Adoja B. Asamoah, co-founder of the Crown Coalition. Yeah, Representative Asamoah. Let's see. Let's look at this comment here. They talk about Daryl George, the African-American male Texas student who was suspended from school because of the length of his locks. Representative Asamoah, co-founder of the Crown Coalition, said that hair discrimination is based on Eurocentric beauty standards and as such is anti-Black. Now, this also deals with issues of African-American children being disciplined more in school. On page 3 of this article, while Black students are disciplined at a rate 4 times higher than any other racial or ethnic group, research has found that 70% of all suspensions are discretionary, with many stemming from dress code violations, including unapproved hairstyles. Okay, that's what this talks about right here. Black students are disciplined at a rate 4 times higher than any other racial or ethnic group. So this deals with school discipline. This deals with economic opportunities. This is wide ranging. This Crown Act in hair discrimination is wide ranging, the negative impact that it has on African Americans. Now, the Federal Crown Act would provide research, statistics, and precedent to support that there is a need to define and prohibit hair discrimination in the workplace and in schools in order to enforce the protection of civil rights, in order to enforce the protection of civil rights. It would also provide clear definitions that describe enforcement mechanisms of the bill. Now, Representative Ayanna Pressley, Democrat from Massachusetts, emphasized that the Crown Act is also a public health act due to the health issues that African American women face from chemicals applied to their hair in order to assimilate. The Crown Act is also a public health act due to the health issues African American women face from chemicals applied to their hair in order to assimilate. But she added, it's also about sending a message to Black Americans everywhere that they belong. She said, whether you are a student in the classroom, an employee in the workplace, or the next Supreme Court justice, you belong everywhere exactly as you are. Okay, so read this piece here from thehill.com dealing with the Crown Act. Black lawmakers reintroduce bill to ban hair discrimination. This is from May 1st, 2024. CNN.com also has a piece on this as well, because I looked at numerous articles on this. I want to go to this story here from let's look at the one from Reuters.com. We may look at the one from CNN also. There's another one from CNN. There's probably 3 more articles we'll look at. One from CNN is from October 22nd, 2022. When it comes to their hair, Black women face a difficult choice. But let's look at this one from Reuters.com. Now, this is from November 4th, 2023. November 4th, 2023. Thousands of Black women claim hair relaxers gave them cancer. And there's a class action lawsuit that has been filed. Let's pull this one up. Thousands of Black women claim hair relaxers gave them cancer. This is from Reuters.com. So they talk about Sheila Bush, who's a cosmetologist. And let me pull up this article. It says she was lounging in the recliner at her St. Louis area home last winter in 2022 when an advertisement from a law firm flashed up on her television screen, urging viewers to call a toll-free number if they or a loved one had used hair relaxers and been diagnosed with uterine cancer. Okay. Hair relaxers, had used hair relaxers and had been diagnosed with uterine cancer. And I saw here in Detroit, I saw commercials from attorneys about this also. After seeing the ad 3 times, Sheila Bush, who said she had used hair relaxers every 6 weeks for most of her life and was diagnosed with uterine cancer about a decade ago, decided to pick up the phone. And here's a picture of Sheila Bush here. The ads that Sheila Bush saw on television, as well as on her social media feeds, were part of a nationwide effort by law firms to sign up Black women to file lawsuits alleging at least a dozen cosmetic companies, including L'Oreal and Revlon, sold hair relaxers containing chemicals that increased the risk of developing uterine cancer and failed to warn customers. Now, the recruitment campaign launched in October 2022, days after a U.S. National Institutes of Health, NIH, U.S. National Institutes of Health study found an association, though not a causal link, but an association between frequent use of chemical hair relaxers and uterine cancer. Okay, this study from the U.S. National Institutes of Health, NIH, found an association between frequent use of chemical hair relaxers and uterine cancer. Hair straighteners such as L'Oreal's Dark and Lovely, which we've seen advertised in the African American community for decades, Dark and Lovely, and Revlon's Cream of Nature are marketed overwhelmingly to women of color, according to the lawsuits, especially African American women. Some of the ads show Black women applying hair products before cutting to a summary of the National Institutes of Health Studies findings. Now, L'Oreal and Revlon told Reuters their products are subject to rigorous safety reviews. The companies noted that the authors of the NIH study said they did not draw definitive conclusions about the cause of the women's cancers and that more research is warranted. And that more research is warranted. Okay, so they have the statement here. We do not believe the science supports a link between chemical hair straighteners or relaxers and cancer. Revlon said. L'Oreal added that it is committed to offering the best products, quote, for all skin and hair types, all genders, as blah, 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 etc. Now, let me look at my notes here just a second. Now, the cases face hurdles in addition to potential limitations of the MIH study. But the cases face hurdles in addition to the potential limitations of the NIH study. Plaintiffs are suing multiple companies, and if women lack receipts, they may struggle to provide evidence that they used specific products. Attorney Benjamin Crump, who represented the family of George Floyd, and another lawyer, Deandra Fu DeBrose Zimmerman, filed the first hair relaxer lawsuit on behalf of a Missouri woman named Jenny Mitchell shortly after the NIH study was published. Since then, more than 7,000 similar lawsuits have been filed by many plaintiffs' lawyers. More than 7,000 similar lawsuits have been filed. The cases have been consolidated in a Chicago federal court as part of a multi-district litigation proceeding, a procedure designed to more efficiently manage lawsuits filed in multiple jurisdictions. Even though the legal claims asserted in the lawsuits don't allege racial discrimination, attorney Benjamin Crump says the cases should be viewed as essentially civil rights issues, For Black women, quote, it's projected on them that they have to live up to some kind of European standard of beauty. Attorney Benjamin Crump, who represents plaintiffs in high-profile racial discrimination cases and is a regular on cable news, said in an interview. Now, Sheila Bush is now 69 years old. She told Reuters about being mocked by white children in the schoolyard of her St. Louis school for her quote-unquote cotton hair, a common derogatory term used for Black hair texture. She said, quote, you felt as though you did not belong or weren't as good as they were, Sheila Bush said, who was born in 1954, the same year as the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board of Education, which found racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional. Now, the vast majority of the plaintiffs are women of color, according to Jane Conroy, a lawyer whose firm has filed at least 550 hair relaxer cases, adding that attorneys don't have full demographic data of their clients. Now, the cases come at a time when Black people are increasingly embracing natural hairstyles. At least 23 states have passed legislation aimed at protecting people from hair discrimination in the workplace and public schools. The U.S. House of Representatives passed similar legislation in 2022 that stalled in the Senate. That was the Crown Act. Women are taking now, uterine cancer is the most common form of female reproductive system cancer and rising in the U.S., especially among African-American women, according to the National Institutes of Health. the NIH. The American Cancer Society estimates there will be about 66,000 new cases of uterine cancer diagnosed this year in the United States, less than a quarter of the number of 297,790 new cases of invasive breast cancer, and more than 3 times the 19,710 cases of ovarian cancer. The NIH study of more than 33,000 women found that those who reported using hair straightener products more than 4 times in the previous year were more than twice as likely to develop uterine cancer as those who did not. Let me repeat this. The NIH study of more than 33,000 women found that those who reported using hair straightening products more than 4 times in the previous year were more than twice as likely to develop uterine cancer as those who did not. A total of 378 women in the study developed uterine cancer. Black women used the products more frequently than others, the study found. African American women used the products more frequently than any other group of women the study found. All right, read this here. Read the rest of this article. They also go on to talk about formaldehyde, which is a carcinogen and is used in some of these products. The U.S. There was a ban on formaldehyde. It was used. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration plans to propose next April, which would be April 2024, a rule that would ban formaldehyde and formaldehyde-releasing chemicals from hair straightening products. So I'm not sure if that ban is going into effect yet. An agency spokesperson provided no further details on timing. Formaldehyde is a known carcinogen and has been linked to nasopharyngeal cancer and leukemia, according to the World Health Organization, the WHO. The NIH study said phthalates and the other chemicals are suspected endocrine disruptors, which can interfere with the body's hormones and are suspected of contributing to cancer risks. That deals with the endocrine system, okay? And these are endocrine disruptors. All right, so read the rest of this article here from Reuters.com. Thousands of Black women claim hair relaxers gave them. Thousands of Black women claim hair relaxers gave them cancer. Okay, so check out that article here from Reuters.com. Then there was one from NBCnews.com dealing with what Black women should know about hair relaxers and their health. Okay, let's look at this quickly here. So I went through and read all these articles, but I don't have time to get through all the information here. All right, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. How you all like this type of information? If you like this type of information, be sure to support the African History Network, and you can support us through Cash App or PayPal, but also register for the online history classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. What Black women should know about hair relaxers and their health. This is from October 18th, 2023, from NBCnews.com by Claretta Bellamy. Doctors explain why relaxers can be so harmful, and what can people do if they think their hair straightening regimen has contributed to poor health? So they talk about another study here. I think they talk about two studies. And they talk about research from Boston University. Several landmark studies have been published in the last year, highlighting the link between chemical hair relaxers, which break down proteins in hair to straighten it, and increased rates of uterine cancer. And last week, after pressure from Democratic reps Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts and Chantel Brown of Ohio, the Food and Drug Administration proposed a ban on hair smoothing and hair straightening products containing formaldehyde, an ingredient known to cause cancer. As more research continues to reveal potential dangers, hundreds of Black women have filed lawsuits against big-name beauty and cosmetic retailers like L'Oreal and Revlon, blaming their chemical hair straighteners as causes of uterine cancer, fibroid tumors, and infertility. The latest research on the effects of hair relaxers was published on October 10th, 2023 by Boston University. According to the Black Women's Health Study, or BWHS, postmenopausal Black women who have used chemical hair relaxers more than twice a year or for more than 5 years have an increased risk of developing uterine cancer. In the following 44,798 Black women the study followed 44,798 Black women for up to 22 years. Researchers found a higher rate of uterine cancer among postmenopausal African American women who reporting having used chemical hair relaxers for at least 10 years, regardless of frequency. Better grasping Black health and the factors that contribute to racial disparities in cancer was the intent behind the 22-year study. Let me go to this quote here. To Representative Ayanna Pressley, oversight into these ingredients touches upon generational issues that Black women have long grappled with. For generations, systemic racism and anti-Black hair sentiment have forced Black women to navigate the extreme politicization of hair. We've seen this play out in schools and in the workplace, where Black folks have been criminalized, punished, or overlooked in personnel decisions just for how our hair grows out of our head. As a result, Black women have turned to straightened or relaxed hair as an attempt to advance socially and economically. As a result, Black women have turned to straightened or relaxed hair as an attempt to advance socially and economically. But regardless of how we wear our hair, we should be able to show up in the world without putting our health at risk, and manufacturers should be prevented from making a profit at the expense of our health. Okay, so it goes on to talk about what has the research said about chemical hair relaxers and women's health so far. Several studies have found that chemical hair straighteners have harmful effects on the body. They talk about the study from the National Institutes of Health. And then they go on, let's see. Why are hair relaxers so harmful? Why are hair relaxers so harmful? Chemical hair relaxers can contain endocrine disrupting chemicals. Here we are again talking about the endocrine system. Endocrine disrupting chemicals, which can disrupt the functions of the endocrine system, which include the thyroid, ovaries, pancreas, and adrenal glands. They can also affect hormonal levels. These chemicals include phthalates and parabens, which can be found in hair relaxers. People can be exposed to them by absorption through the skin or inhaling them in the air. Absorption through the skin or inhaling them in the air. All right, read the rest of this article here from NBCnews.com. Excellent article. This is actually NBC News Black, which is their African American platform. What Black women should know about hair relaxers and their health. This is from October 18th, 2023. All right, and then also CNN has this article called "When It Comes to Their Hair, Black women face a difficult choice." You can take a look at this. This is from October 22nd, 2022. Another excellent article on this topic. And this deals with the effects of racism. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, which comes out of the ideology of European white supremacy. This deals with understanding racism and how it manifests itself and how it affects the health of African American women and what things that hurt African American women hurt us in general, hurt the African American family in general, how it impacts us economically, hair discrimination, discipline of African American students in school, all of this. When it comes to their hair, Black women face a difficult choice. This is from CNN.com, October 22nd, 2022, by Faith Karimi. Page 2 of this article, the findings follow a similar, let's see, so they talk about some Black women say they feel social and economic pressure to straighten their hair. Some Black women say they feel social and economic pressure to straighten their hair. The research published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, found a connection between using certain hair straighteners, such as chemical relaxers and pressing products, and an increased risk of uterine cancer, the most common cancer of the female reproductive system. The association between the hair straightening products and uterine cancer cases was most pronounced for Black women, who made up 7.4% of the study participants, but almost 60% of those who reported ever using hair straighteners. Almost 60% of those who ever reported using hair straighteners. The findings follow a similar study in 2019 that linked the use of permanent hair dye and chemical hair straighteners to a higher risk of breast cancer. That was a 2019 study. I read about that one also. I remember when that came out. The risk was more than 6 times higher for Black women. So this 2019 study linked the usage of permanent hair dye and chemical hair straighteners to a higher risk of breast cancer. Experts say several factors lead women to use hair straightening products, including Eurocentric standards of beauty and a desire for versatility in changing hairstyles and self-expression. All right, read the rest of this article also. Another excellent article on this topic. When it comes to their hair, Black women face a difficult choice. All right, look, we're going to get out of here. Hey, if you'd like this type of information, support the African History Network, $, the AHN show through Cash App. How'd you all like this show today? How'd you like this type of information? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on the broadcast. Be sure to register for the online classes that I teach. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information there. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content. Join us in our next class. And be sure to support us through PayPal or Cash App. So we definitely need your support. This helps us keep doing the research, pay for these services that I use, pay for the subscriptions to all these news outlets. This helps us continue to do the research, finance the show, etc. Because we don't do this for the money, but it sure as hell takes money to do this. All right, that's going to do it for us. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, Michael Imhotep on Instagram. And we have our social media platforms, our handles at the top of our website. Remember, right now is correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.